Welcome back to Straight Talk. I'm Laurel Porter. We're talking with Marc Jolin from the community-wide effort, A Home for Everyone, where they believe no one should be homeless. Everyone needs a safe, stable place to call home. Once again, welcome. It's great to have you here.
Thank you.
We've heard a lot about probably the most famous camp is R2D2, Right to Dream 2, and we're taping this Friday afternoon. This was supposed to be the deadline when they had to leave Old Town, but now that's been extended by 60 days so they can move to a new property. The city's identified. They're currently at 4th and Burnside. This new property is on the east side of the river between the Moda Center and the Willamette River. What do you think about this new location?
I think it's a very good site in the sense that it keeps the community close to services, which was a priority for them, understandably, because really Right to Dream is a rest area. It's a place for people to go to get a good night's sleep, and their priority has always been to have people accessing services and moving on to a better situation as quickly as possible. So being close in has been a priority for them, and I think this meets that criterion. They are also there very close to public transit, so the MAX station is very proximate to that location. So I'm hopeful that it's a good site for them and it will meet their need. And importantly, it will allow them to continue to do the work that they've been doing. And the siting has been a challenge, but I think there hasn't been much question that what they're doing there in terms of providing a safe place for people to sleep out of the doorways each night is important and valuable to the community.
Another program that's gotten some attention from the county is a Ticket Home. It's offering hundreds of homeless people the opportunity to free up shelter space for other people by leaving town. You first identify to make sure that the people have some place to go, a loved one or friend that they can go and have stable housing. But we did a story a little while ago that showed that 3 months later, only about half of the people who took advantage of the program were still in stable housing. Out of 266 people who used their bus tickets, 131 said they still had stable housing 3 months later, but that means 135 either were homeless or unaccounted for, might be homeless in another city. Do you still think this program's working?
I think that the idea behind the program is a really important one, right? Because people come to Portland of all incomes on a regular basis looking for opportunities. Something brings them here, and some percentage of those folks don't find that opportunity, and they don't find the services that they need, they don't find the job that they thought they were going to have, whatever it is, and they've got a better opportunity someplace else, and this allows us to help them take advantage of that opportunity. It means that there's a family member or a friend or someone who can give them housing, and right now, even though we've expanded shelter dramatically, if someone puts their name on a wait list for a shelter bed, it could take months for their name to come up, and so this is an effort to connect people who are asking for it, right? Folks have to come to us and say, hey, I want to do this, I have this opportunity, and then we verify that that opportunity is real as best we can and support them in getting back to the community where that opportunity exists. So that idea is important. As with any new program, there's always got to be revisiting, are we getting the follow-up right? Are we doing a good enough job of assessing? But right now, we feel like this is an important resource to have, and we'll continue to look at data like the data you generated and the data that we have internally to make sure that we're using this resource wisely, because really the goal is to ensure that people who want to go someplace else and have an opportunity for long-term housing in that place have the resources to get there.
At least one regional mayor isn't too happy about it. The mayor of Vidal says the Ticket Home program is impacting services in his city and worrying residents, affecting tourism. Let's listen to what he had to say.
We have an influx of people that seem to be coming out of Portland. In theory, it's probably something that could work, but in actuality, I don't think it's being done right. I think, someone can say to them, I have a contact, here's a ticket, boom, and whether they do or not.
Do you have any response to him? Are you shifting the homeless population somewhere else?
No, I mean, I think the correction there is that it isn't that someone just tells us they have a contact. We actually make a call to that contact and get a verbal verification that this is real and that there is an opportunity there. And then once the person goes, we do a follow-up in order to monitor. So, I think there are people, again, low income and homeless, moving all the time between communities looking for opportunity. And so it isn't a matter of shifting the homeless population from our community to another one. It is about taking individuals who have struggles here and don't have a support network and have not found opportunity here, who have an opportunity someplace else, and we can't guarantee that that opportunity is going to materialize either, but it makes sense for them. It's what they're wanting and asking for us to help them make that happen, in part because we don't have anything here for them right now.
Another component of the homelessness crisis in Portland is also the lack of affordable housing. How does that impact homelessness?
That may be the single biggest challenge we have as a community, because the reality of homelessness, there are many things that differentiate people experiencing homelessness from each other, but the thing they have in common is that they don't have access to permanent affordable housing. And so even as we go to connect people with mental health services and treatment services, if we can't find a housing unit for them that they can afford to pay for, they're going to stay homeless. They're going to stay in our shelters. They're going to stay on our streets. And at the same time, as housing becomes less affordable, the number of people who've been living on the edge and extremely rent burdened who fall over that edge and into homelessness will continue to grow. So we see that in our shelters right now, people saying, this is the first time in my life I've ever been homeless. And for those folks who are in our shelters and are working so hard to get out, they're struggling to find an opportunity because, again, the rents are too high, the units just aren't there. So as a community, as much as we're doing to try to address this crisis of homelessness, we need to be addressing the affordable housing crisis, both in terms of expanding inventory of units and addressing the rent side of that equation.
And one of the things, Salem is considering a bill to protect tenant rights, would ban no-cause evictions for month-to-month leases with a couple of exceptions, and allow cities to set limits on how much landlords can raise rent from year to year. What can you do besides that to prevent homeless? What's the prevention side of this?
So the prevention side is in part a financial resource question, right? So as a family faces a temporary loss of income, a job loss, or having to put money towards a health crisis or a car repair instead of towards rent 1 month, they need to be able to come to us and say, boy, if you could give me $1,000, I could stay in my unit, I wouldn't lose it. And we're trying to do that with our diversion program. So in our shelter system, for example, the family shelter system, in the last 6 months, about 200 families who found themselves in that kind of situation, they said to us, we don't want to come to the shelter, but we're going to have to unless there's some way to help us get through this crisis moment. We make financial resources available to them to overcome that. And then there are other types of issues. It's not just finances that jeopardize someone's housing. They may be having a problem with a spouse. They may be in a domestic violence situation. They may be doubled up and it can't be sustained. We have to be able to support them to hold on to their tenancies.
Marc, I have to stop you there.
Yeah.
I wish we had more time. Thank you for joining us here on Straight Talk.
It was my pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Straight Talk airs 2 times a week, 4:30 on Saturdays and at 6:30 p.m. on Sundays after NBC Nightly News. Join us next week. My guest is Multnomah County Chair Deborah Kafoury. We'll see you next week for Straight Talk.